Welcome to Marketing Table Talk. I am your host, Lisa Perry. I am a global brand marketer, and today we are going to talk about how challenger brands can steal the thunder. This is an exciting topic because it is amazing how smaller and lesser known brands can disrupt the market, gaining traction by outshining, outperforming established brands, which is so critical because more and more that is happening today. So today I am joined by a branding expert who's going to help me unpack this. Anand is a co-founder of TMA Global, a brand strategy studio who helps brands find their purpose and gets people to care about it. Welcome to Marketing Table Talk, Anand.
Hi, Lisa. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Well, let's just dive right into it. Tell us, what is a challenger brand versus an established brand?
Okay, cool. Let's jump right in. So, Challenger brand is, I think, more of a mindset, right? So, there are few things that will define what a challenger brand is in terms of some characteristics, right? They are generally bold, they are innovative, and they are invariably disruptors in the category, right? That probably qualifies what a challenger brand will be. And mostly they focus on a niche segment, in a large market, and try to identify an unmet need that either an established brands or the follower brands didn't much care about, going behind solving that unmet need. So these challenger brands identify themselves, their strengths in that niche, and then go on challenge the status quo of how the products and services are performing in a particular industry, and give a much better alternative, right? So unlike, I would say, established brands where they have all the might and force which are with them, challenger brands often enter market with some really innovative strategies, right? Very disruptive thinking, and they come from bottom up. They don't come from top down, right? So I would say these are some of, the challenger brands. Most so it is a mindset that defines what a challenger brand is, right? If you can take a couple of examples, there are situations sometimes that makes a market leader to even behave like a challenger brand, and there are sometimes a challenger brand can start as a challenger brand and become a market leader in their own right. Okay, so let's take a couple of examples. Okay, I want to quote Apple. Okay, Apple started as a challenger brand. We all know that, right? When they started, you had PCs, you have Microsoft, and when Apple was working on the computers, even IBM entered PCs. They were the
Mhm.
giants. Apple was really nothing in front of them. Today, they are the giants in the world, but at that point in time, Apple was nothing. So we all remember the 1984 Apple Super Bowl ad, where a woman come running and throwing a hammer on the large screen, and the voiceover says Apple is going to launch Mac, and why 1984 will never be 1984 again, right? So,
Right.
and it
Right.
proved it proved right. 1984 is not 1984 anymore. They changed the world. They literally
Mhm.
changed the world, right? They were really small at that time, so they went head on with the giants and they changed the game. And if you look at another example of Apple's challenger brand mindset in those days, the Mac guy versus the PC guy, and he
Mhm.
gets pulled in every single time and make a funny poke against the competition, right? So this helped to kind of create a niche segment for Apple, and the niche really grew over a period of time. And today they cannot call themselves as a niche brand. They are a leader on their own, right? They have their own right to call themselves as a leader. And today they won't do such communication, right? They speak on something else today. They speak on
Hmm.
groundbreaking innovations that will change the world, that will save the mankind. The product launches are aligned to that philosophy, right? So Apple started as a challenger brand and became a market leader, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
an example, a situation that you start as a challenger brand and you move to become a market leader.
I
And
no, keep going.
okay,
Were you?
so another example, what I was talking about, where sometimes market leaders are forced to behave like a challenger brand, right?
Mm,
We'll take an example of what happened to Nike. Okay, it's
right.
2012 Summer Olympics in London. It's a global sporting event, and Nike lost the title sponsorship to Adidas, right? Nike is a giant. They celebrated every sport and athlete, and that's their forte, but they did not get the sponsorship. So they lost it to Adidas. Adidas drew stringent rules with the Olympic Committee on what is allowed, what is not allowed for non-sponsors to advertise during the sporting event, just to protect the sponsors, because it's like a the title sponsorship is $155 million. It's mind-boggling number, right?
Hmm.
So they said you cannot, nobody can, non-sponsors cannot use London in their names or campaign. They cannot use athletes on ad during the sporting event. They cannot use 2012. They cannot use summer. They cannot use games. So many rules, stringent rules were wrote down, right? Nike being Nike, who's like a godfather of marketing, they found loopholes in that, and they donned a challenger brand hat and a mindset and went on an ambush marketing. Okay. So what they did was, London in UK is not allowed to be used, right? They discovered there are 28 different London cities available around the world. There's London in Ohio, there's London in South Africa, etc., etc. So many places. So they went and shot the commercial in those places.
Oh, I love
Like
that.
imagine, right? And this is a challenger brand mindset. You're pushed to the corner and you don a challenger brand mindset and you go against the competition, right?
Right.
And you cannot use athletes on your commercials, right? So they hired amateur kids and athletes who want to be an athlete in future. And they ran a campaign called Find Your Greatness. Leaders are not born, they're made, right? And another ambush marketing that they did during the event was athletes were allowed to wear whatever brands that they want to wear during the sporting event. That's a big loophole that they found. So at the tracks, Adidas sponsored all the apparels, but off the track, athletes were allowed to use whatever that they want to use. Nike hired 400 athletes as their brand ambassadors and gave off all their Volt yellow green shoes. That is so contrast to the athlete track, it just stood out crazily. So they perfectly orchestrated on the track. They use Adidas shoes. The moment they finish the race and the game and move off the track, they switch to Nike. And all the
Ugh,
photography events happen off the track. Nike was there everywhere. So that's a challenger brand mindset, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
interestingly, I'll just conclude this with an outcome that happened in Nike, right? After the event, the whole sporting event, there was a research happened in the US, and they asked people who was the sponsor of London 2012 Olympics. 25% of the audience said Adidas was the sponsor. Okay. 35% of the people said Nike was the sponsor. And Nike was
Yeah.
exploding online, okay, on their viewers, on tweets, on virality and everything. They just stole the thunder completely,
Right.
even though they were not title sponsorship. So there is no one definition that we can call as this is a challenger brand, right? It's a mindset. It's definitely a mindset.
What a fabulous example. It's so you just the growth mindset, don't let anything get in your way. Just go forward and
Yes.
make sure that you're just thinking and pushing yourself of driving that thought process. It's the story that you tell in your
Correct.
head. Don't limit your thinking
Yes.
as a brand.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
It's
Completely.
so
Yes.
powerful. It is so powerful, as a company to make sure that you're infusing that, culture, right? I love what you shared. Those are very powerful examples, so thank you. And and,
Yes.
uh, and great to permeate, for companies out there. So thank you
Yeah.
for that. That's fabulous.
Totally.
How about challenges that challenger brands face when they're trying to compete, um, in the marketplace? I'm sure that these are great examples, but it's this is a competitive marketplace, and you get up and you just one after the other and getting knocked down, and it can get very discouraging. How are some challenges that challenger brands face, and what are the thoughts in getting around that?
Yeah. Because challenger brands invariably face a lot of challenges. While they challenge the market leaders, they are internally challenged on multiple things, right? So I can probably think of top three challenges that any brands can probably face. Two are, I would bucket them as common challenges. One is the most uncommon challenge that they have to encounter. Okay, let's start with common challenges first. Okay, number one, obviously the budgets, right? They are always constrained with limited resources to fight against the market leaders. There is no bottomless pit of budgets, unlike market leaders who can just go on, extravagantly spend to make their presence felt. So challenger brands have to think and rethink 100 times on how to maximize the returns on their marketing investments. How do I extract maximum value for every dollar that I'm going to spend? This disproportionate returns that I need to get out of my marketing budget, that's the biggest challenge that marketers face, right, with the challenger brands. And the second one would be probably the attention and recognition that they encounter, because unfortunately established players get all the limelight, attention, and trust, right? They are generally the default first choice of consumers, be it any
Right.
category for that matter, because of the top of the mind space that they've occupied. You're fighting the attention and recognition, right, that established brands are enjoying. That's another big challenge. With limited budget, how do you get maximum attention and recognition? Because they're not going to trust you. How will you earn their trust out of nowhere, being a new brand, right? That's another, I would say, common challenge that brands encounter. The most uncommon challenge that marketers face is fighting the habitual buying behavior, right? Human psychology plays a big role here, okay? Because you are a late entrant probably in the market. That's why you're positioning yourself as a challenger brand with a better alternative in all of those. Your existing consumers and the brands have a really long term relationship with each other, right? They're not going to switch overnight. And it is going to disrupt their existing purchase pattern and behavior. And how human brains work was, let's take an example. If you're leaving from home, going to your office, and you're having a stopover in Starbucks to pick up a cup of coffee, you either have it there or probably like pick me up, and on your way you can have it and reach your office. Okay, you do it for a couple of days, you do it for a couple of weeks, you do it for a couple of months. After a point in time, it becomes a ritual for you, it becomes a habit for you, right? It becomes a part of your life. You have to do it. So now imagine you've left home like any other typical day, but you're on the call, you are discussing something quite serious about a job in the office. You got to be in office quick and fast, okay? Subconsciously, without you paying attention, you would have first driven to your Starbucks place, not your office, in spite of some emergency. It's a subconscious trait because your mind has created a neuro shortcut to the habits that you're already doing day in and day out. Breaking that habit is a big one. That's the biggest challenge for any challenger brand. Unless there is an inherent pain point that you identify and try to kind of, this is what is like identifying unmet need of an unsaid challenge or a pain that your consumers are going through, right? Giving your solution and making them to try it once, twice, couple of times more, then you slowly start them to kind of deviate from established brands and other brand choices, then this becomes your default choice. So fighting the habitual buying experience or existing consumer behavior is the most difficult task for any challenge brand.
I think you just hit it on the nail because I know that you and I have talked about this. It's the point of differentiating yourself in the market that most brands and
Correct.
most companies talk about the the one challenge that they have, the sea of sameness out there, right?
Exactly.
So um, how can challenger brands do that? How can they disrupt the market and stand out from that habitual habit that people have, right, of going to their tried and true and say, hey, here's something new, here's something differentiated that solves your pain point.
Exactly.
What are some strategies that challengers brands can do to address that unmet need?
Yeah, so I'm sure invariably there will be a pain point. Sometimes it is widely discussed. Many times it's just pushed under the carpet. Nobody knows, nobody talks about it. Neither the brand nor the consumer. They are waiting for a better alternative. Sometimes they don't even know what they want. Right? That's the problem with given consumer research. One example we can quote was Apple never did a research when they launched iPads because Steve Jobs said consumers will not know what they want. If they know what they want, every brand will do exactly that, right? So, one example that comes to my mind of what Dollar Shave Club did in the US, right, to disrupt the shaving industry, right? They were like a messy, scrappy startup, right? They were fighting against Gillette, such a giant multi-billion-dollar brand. They were nowhere in front of them, like nowhere. But one thing what they found was, why should shaving cartridges be so expensive? Like
Mhm.
why? I was like, why would you need three blades to do one shave? I mean, your grandfather didn't use that to shave, and why would you need it? These are unnecessary requirements that are cooked up and put it in your mind by those leaders. So they identified that, and we all know the campaign that they did. Product wise, they disrupted, distribution wise, they disrupted, communication wise, they disrupted. All three. Being a scrappy startup, they did this. I was like, why should blades cost so much? Right? They said at $1 a month, we'll send you blades to your home directly. So price points fought, distribution fought. Why would you go to retail market? You go on a subscription. I mean, they did this much before subscription became mainstream. Like today, every brand jumps on a subscription mode of revenue. But in that time, when Dollar Shave Club launched, it was not prevalent. Maybe they were like the pioneers to even establish that subscription model of products, right? And we all know the campaign that the founder himself came and spoke about, right? Our blades are fucking great. That's it. It was reportedly shot for $4,500. It broke
Crazy.
the internet.
Right.
It broke the internet. And invariably, people started finding so much value in the brand, they started buying. And and we all know what happened, right? Unilever bought Dollar Shave Club for $1 billion,
Right.
right?
Insane.
So
Insane. Insane.
that's the strategy on every aspect, on product, on distribution, questioning the fundamental behavior of why should you do things this way, why not some other way. Try it. When they find value, they
Right.
will adopt.
Right. And you make a good point. That is the a fabulous example of a brand that will disrupt your tried and true and go try us. For
Yes,
not you don't have a budget, they didn't have a budget, which was one of your challenges that challenger brands have. They didn't have a
yes,
budget, and they disrupted the market, and they stole market share. So you just
yes.
nailed it on all those points. Love that example. Everyone, I got to tell you, if you're not following Anand on LinkedIn, you go follow him now. He gives the most amazing examples, as you can see right here, on brands that in a fabulous storytelling way, on challenges that you may be having. So go reach out, connect with him, tell him you saw him here on Marketing Table Talk. You need to do that. So let's
Thank
switch
you.
gears and talk about innovation. Please, what role does innovation play for challenger brands in the success of how they get ahead in the market?
Okay. See, innovation is the foundation and fundamental to be a challenger brand in itself, right? If you are not innovative in product, innovative in a service, or innovating in distribution, you cannot exist, right? The fundamental trait of defining a challenger brand is innovation, right? There's no question about it. If you masquerade yourself as a challenger brand with exactly the same product and the service available, you are going to blend into the sea of sameness with 5 or 10 other players available in the market, right? Investing in R&D and innovation on product front, and investing in innovatively communicating, which means creativity, right? That defines truly a challenger brand's mindset and the way of operations, right? um, we all know BK and McD fight with each other all the time, right? BK is really, really small when compared to McD. McD is like a giant, right? They must be like 1/5 of the size, BK, right? With McD. So when BK launched their own mobile app, right? They were late to the mobile app party, right? At that time, McDonald's had their own mobile app for ordering their food. Domino's developed it, and every single giant food brand had their own mobile app developed. So they were super late to the market. How do they make the consumers install one more app into their mobile phone, right? Like capturing the mind space was important. Like that at that point in time, capturing the space in mobile was also important, right? So they did this unthinkable of what any brand could do. They did the Whopper detour, right? So what they did was they geofenced 15,000 plus McDonald's restaurants in the US. They just geofenced every single restaurant available out there, right? And then they ran a campaign. They just did one tweet: BRB, I'm going to McDonald's. That's what BK did, right? Poking straight into McDonald's, right? And they did was they could buy a Whopper for 1 cent, but that Whopper can be availed only from McDonald's. That was the strategy. So what they did was, when download the mobile app, go near McDonald's, or when you're inside McDonald's, anywhere near McDonald's restaurant, they get an alert or a coupon gets unlocked. The moment you unlock, you get your 1 cent burger, right? The catch was you can redeem it in the next 1 hour. It's only valid for 1 hour. And it gave navigation to the nearest BK from McDonald's. They just diverted every single traffic of McDonald's footfalls to BK, and they sold $1.5 million worth of food through mobile app. Out of, I would say, they were ranked about 500 or 600 in terms of mobile app ranking before they launched this campaign. They became number one in mobile app downloads and usage in 48 hours. In 48 hours. So if they've thought conventionally, did a campaign, this is our mobile app, download it and order it, nobody would have bothered doing it. because of this creativity and innovation. Look at the innovation, not just on the food, but innovation in marketing, innovation in technology, right? They were not a food brand. I think they became a technology brand to execute this. Like geofencing 15,000 McD restaurants is not an easy task. So
Yeah,
innovation need not have to happen only on your product front, on so many other parameters. But that's a mindset again. If you have that mindset, you will be able to pick up patterns and be innovative.
yeah, and you're right. It is a mindset throughout the organization, and creativity does not have to happen in marketing. Creativity can be infused throughout the whole organization, and innovation doesn't have to be big things. Innovation can
Yes,
be small things that blow up big, to your point. Innovation can be things that happen in finance. Innovation can be things that happen in accounting. Innovation can be very small things, like you said, that can blow up big. And
exactly.
I love your example, because that was a mobile app that everybody else was doing, and it was how it was executed. All it was a same Me Too that was executed in a very creative way. So again,
Yes,
things that can happen throughout an organization, that all it is creative mindset, shift in thinking that you've been talking about throughout the whole time that we've been dialoguing here
yes,
today. I love it. So people, think about this. These are some great nuggets of information that Anand is giving us today. Anand, people want to know, what's your last name, what is your LinkedIn handle, so that they know how to get in touch with you on LinkedIn. So can you share that, please?
okay. Where do I share? I mean, my full name
No,
is
just spell them.
Anand
Just
Sankaranarayanan.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Sorry, yeah, my full name is Anand Sankaranarayanan. I think if you're probably going to type, maybe we'll display it at the end of our at the end of our event, or go to the event show notes, or what Lisa had put it and Work It Daily has published. You'll have that link, because you all are going to have difficulty in typing my second name. So I would rather not allow you to
And then,
experiment that. You go and click on it; it's
and
there
then
to follow.
on LinkedIn, what is your LinkedIn handle?
It's Anand Shankar Narayanan.
Oh, it is. It is the full thing. Okay, so we'll type that out and we'll let you all know how to get in touch with him. So
Cool.
let's take some questions, because we've got a lot of people asking some questions here. Michael
Okay.
is asking, what are some strategies that established businesses can employ to hinder the growth and success of challenger brands?
Okay. So all these established brands have the full might and force and budgets with them, right? If you are an FMCG brand, they probably arm twist you through retailers and not getting shelf spaces, arm twist you with media and publications to not let your ads allowed to be kind of bought and stuff like that. I mean, there were even case studies in some part of the world. I don't remember exactly which country. At the day of launch, I think if I remember right, it's one of Unilever brands. P&G was launching a competitor brand. On the day of launch, Unilever went and just bought every single product available on the shelf, so people could not go and buy it. So they can go behind any extreme sometimes to disrupt and stop your growth. So they could fight you with resources on distribution, product development, their media, everything. So you need to use your creative
Wonderful.
brains to fight that out.
Perfect. Thank you, Anand. Let's take another question. Um, This again from Michael. What are some successful examples of established companies successfully pushing back against challenger brands? What lessons can be learned from these cases?
Okay. Mm, One example I could think of again was, okay. It's again McD and BK, but it happened in France, right? So McDonald's was a market leader, right? Everywhere around the world, even in France for that matter. So they were like 5 times bigger in terms of the stores availability. So they need not have to do it, but they did it to BK, unfortunately. Okay. So they put up on a highway they put up a giant billboard of say 100-foot height that is giving directions to reach the next closest Burger King restaurant. It grew to like 100-foot high. Turn left here, turn right there, go straight, take the first exit, yada 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 yada. Okay. Right next to it, there's a signboard, closest McDrive 1 kilometer. Okay. The next one, a 252-kilometer Burger King. That's the closest. 1 kilometer McDrive through. That's the one. They literally poked Burger King that you're really small. Don't mess with me. This was a commercial. They did it as a video and they shot and pushed it. BK being BK is so creative in that. See, this is what can happen by established companies pushing you back or calling you for your weakness, perceived weakness. Then how BK converted that into a did and then added their own version to it. They showed the full billboard. They showed a couple going to the McDonald's restaurant asking for a coffee, right? And the McDonald's person asked, like, do you need a tall coffee or a short coffee? This guy responds saying, I need a tall coffee because I have to go for a really long drive. And then they take the tall coffee, and the sign off says, thank you, McDonald's, for being everywhere. It's just 250 kilometers for your next Whopper.
Oh, wow.
So it is again, they're so strong and they're so uh, confident about the product, how people love Whopper. Even though I'm not available everywhere, people drive all the way to have Whopper. And thank you, McDonald's, for filling in with caffeine to help me customers reach me. See, that is a creative way to fight back some of the pushbacks that we get from established brands.
Perfect. Here's another one from Bright, who says, "Why do you think people choose Nike over Adidas as official sponsors of Olympic 2012? I mean, a whopping
Correct.
10% more votes."
That's the strategy and loopholes that Nike played. They got a lot more earned media, right? Every single player who was off the tracks, who was interviewed by media and photographed and videographed, they were all wearing Nike shoes on their shoulders. They were just like hanging Nike shoes on their shoulders, right? Then why would people not believe that Nike was the official sponsor? That's
Right.
the ambush marketing that Nike did to steal the thunder completely.
It's fabulous. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This has been just an amazing conversation. I knew it was, Challenger brands definitely can steal the thunder, as we've learned today. Thank you again, Anand, and thank you
Thank you so
everybody
much.
for this. Until next time, another marketing table talk. We will see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.